Okay, so here's some feedback on discussion board 6. And so let's have a look at your questions. And first one up is from Zach. Zach says, in the lecture, a study from 2012 said that 90% of people from 18 up haven't read a book in the last year. It said they read just not books. I wonder if there are any more recent studies on the same thing and if the number is going up or down or staying stable at 19%. That was the Pew Research, and so this is the most recent one I could find for 2014, and in fact it suggests that figure of 19% was even worse, so it's something like 21% in 2011 hadn't read a book in a year, and if you look at 2012 it went up to 26%, and then in 2014 it went down to 24%. So it's around about 20%. People don't read books. That doesn't mean they don't read, as you pointed out. They could be reading lots of other stuff. Not everybody reads books. It is kind of upsetting in a sense to me, because a book, especially fiction, is a sustained reading event where you enter into an alternative universe. And I think in terms of what that does for your consciousness and your ability, your cognitive skills, is amazing to live in a book in your imagination. So that's my pet peeve about people not reading books. But as you can see, I mean, it suggests that people read in other ways, and we're probably far more literate than we ever were, but we just don't read books. Matt says, in the Shirky reading, the author mentions how concerns over mad cow disease sparked an online communication movement that forced extreme change in the South Korean government. Have there been any other similar movements online? Yeah, lots and lots and lots. And social media has become a very powerful tool of political opposition. Other words you can use for this, I guess the most popular word is internet activism, but online activism, digital campaigning, digital activism, online organizing, electronic advocacy, cyber activism, e-campaigning, and e-activism. I guess one of the most famous one, of course, is WikiLeaks, and that's Julian Assange, of course, who's the force behind WikiLeaks, designed to embarrass governments by leaking sensitive documents. And so, of course, all the NSA documents were leaked through WikiLeaks. Perhaps that's not what you're thinking of. Here's one, though, which was a very powerful campaign. This is a Facebook page or a campaign called We Are All Khaled Said. And so Khaled Said was an Egyptian man. He died in police custody. This is 2010. And photos of his disfigured corpse spread throughout online communities and incited outrage over allegations, of course, that the police had beaten them up. You can see the awful, gruesome picture that was released. I'm not going to show you here, but there's Khalid when he was fit and well. So what happened next was that a Google marketing executive created a Facebook memorial page for Said, and he called it We're All Khalid Said. And that attracted lots and lots of attention in Egypt. And this is the beginning of the Arab Spring, and it's one of the kinds of things that helped trigger the Arab Spring. And support for that, for Said, spread rapidly because of this Facebook page. And other people started using his photograph on their profiles. And it is said that because of this photo and the amount of international attention that was given to it, that the Egyptian government eventually consented to a trial of the two detectives who were accused of beating up Khalid. So that is a great example of the power of social media to at least bring about some kind of movement towards justice. I don't know what actually happened to those two policemen. Khalid, of course, is dead. Kaylee asks, do you ever think that there will be ever a time when books, magazines, and newspapers in paper form do not exist? Do you think it's in our near future? Well, one dystopic view that you may be familiar with is Ray Bradbury's vision of a world without books, in which the fire trucks go around burning books, and that's the main use of the fire station, is to burn books. I don't think that's going to happen, of course, and of course what happened in Fahrenheit 451 is actually the books didn't disappear because they individuals took it upon themselves to remember those books and become the book embodied in a person. So, but your question is really about the actual use of paper, of books. Yanling gave a nice response to this. She said, I think hard copy and paper will still exist, at least in our near future. The traditionally printed paper books still have some important value, such as they restore some important documents, of course, yeah. So, I mean, the actual artifact of the book. Or before that, when we had codexes, which was the precursor of the book, and before that, of course, tablets and scrolls. So important documents will always be around in the form of books. Books have physical beauty and are collectible. And so these are other kind of good reasons why books are not going to go away. On the other hand, I personally would never give up books because I like the touch of the material when I read it. Yeah, so just in the way people, when they want to communicate a special thing to a person, maybe a bereavement or a congratulations for a wedding, use a card and they handwrite it, and we know that there's wonderful paper you can buy, and a lot of people like that. So yeah, for that reason, they're certainly not going to go away. And it is an individual preference. There's certain things you can do with books. You can write on them. You can fold over the pages and stuff like that, which a lot of people like. Yanlin says, I'm not a person that is used to reading online. It makes me feel that something is not right. Be careful here, because we're not talking about reading online in the sense of going to your computer and reading something. We're talking about reading on a dedicated electronic reader. So developments in these electronic readers, whether it's a tablet or it's a Kindle or anything like that, the technology has improved such a lot, so the actual interaction with the electronic page is a lot easier. I do most of my reading on the Kindle because I can make the print as big as I want, and that's one encouragement to prolonged literacy. There used to be a time when you had to buy big print books, once you got older and your eyes couldn't see. So in many ways, electronic readers certainly help that. But yeah, I go between paper books and Kindle. I read more Kindle stuff, but I do read paper books too. So yeah, it's all going to be around. We can have lots of choices. Yanlin asks how cognitive surplus will change the world. Do you think it may have some negative sides, and how? Well, yeah, and I think it has, and you probably are already thinking of those. One negative side, of course, is the notion of trolling. A troll, that's a person who sows discourse on the internet by starting arguments or upsetting people by posting inflammatory, extraneous, or off-topic messages in an online community. And you probably experienced this even in very limited, small online chat rooms. There seems to be always somebody who comes along who wants to kind of create havoc. to put that in a different sense, those may tend to be individuals, but if you think that on a larger level, then think of corporate, political, and special interest sponsored trolls. And there's actual word for this. It's called astroturfing. And that's the practice of masking the sponsors of a message or organization. For example, political, advertising, religious, or public relations, to make it appear as though it originates from and is supported by grassroots participants. And you probably experienced this. If you go online and you look at the reviews, maybe it's a book on Amazon or a movie or it's a product that has a review section. Who do you think is writing those reviews? They're not innocent individuals all the time. They're often the particular people who have produced those particular products, and they want to say great stuff about their product and trash somebody else's product. So that's a huge, great industry of organized trolling, especially in the business corporate world, to put down other people and, of course, bump yourself up and your products. Okay,